Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker is now just 10 days away from its official release by writer and director J.J. Abrams and Chris Terrio, as well as creator George Lucas. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you are new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, one thing about Episode 9 is that a lot of fans are very worried about this film, exactly how it's going to turn out by Disney and Lucasfilm. A lot of fans are feeling very apathetic or excited towards this movie. There's a lot of different mixed feelings among many Star Wars fans around the world before they go ahead and see this film based on what they have heard and seen in the trailers and the TV spots, etc., etc. Now, on top of all of this, we do know that J.J. Abrams took many different risks with this movie and that a lot of changes and adjustments were done throughout the months of August, September, and October, and even in November, which is where they made last-minute changes for the ending of Episode 9 and more. Now, on top of all of this, everything related to the final sequence of Episode 9 is said to be the most important part of the film between Ben Solo, Rey, Palpatine, and even others such as the Resistance and the New Sith Empire and even the First Order. Now, specifically on top of all of this, what's really intriguing about this particular segment involves and concerns both the characters of Rey, Ben Solo, and Palpatine. Now, specifically, shot descriptions consisting of a sequence where it's explained that both Rey and Ben Solo are inside of Palpatine's throne room. It's said that one of the sequences is said to involve a moment in which Ben Solo and Rey are said to defend themselves as Palpatine is said to stand in front of them, draining their energy by using the Force. It's said that one of the segments eventually leads to a moment in which Ben Solo is said to get up and defend a weakened Rey, where this all leads to a segment in which the Force lightning by Palpatine hits Ben Solo's lightsaber, where he defends a weakened Rey, where he ignites his mother's lightsaber once again and blocks the Force lightning from Palpatine. Eventually, it leads to a moment in which Palpatine uses Force lightning on Ben Solo and tosses him into a bottomless pit. It's explained that this is where Rey is able to Rey is actually able to reach out for Leia's lightsaber and drops it from Ben Solo's and also uses Anakin's and puts it into a cross position. Now, this is where Rey is said to become the chosen one and destroys the Sith once and for all by defeating Palpatine, where he disintegrates and explodes into thin air. The next segment is said to lead to a moment in which Ben Solo crawls out of the actual pit and crawls over to Rey and gives his life force over to Rey, where a dead Rey is said to come back to life by the hands of Ben Solo giving his life for her, where they kiss, where it actually ends up being a very emotional ending for the Rise of Skywalker between Palpatine, Rey, and Kylo Ren. Now, it's explained that this sequence was actually a part of the patch that was done in November by Disney and Lucasfilm, and that they were making last-minute changes to explain Ben's death in greater detail, where the sequence is said to be very emotional and is explained to be a sequence that will satisfy some of the Reylo fans around the world, where Ben Solo, however, is said to now not become a Force ghost in any way, shape, or form, and that Ben's purpose is by bringing a dead Rey back to life at the very end of the film after Sidious has been defeated by the hands of Rey, who becomes the new chosen one. Now, Ben Solo's Force healing power is said to be a power that he learned from the Force ghosts of the past during his time in the pit, where they connect with Ben Solo in the moment. However, that particular moment is said to be off-screen and will be explained in the novelization only. Now, with that being said, I want to go over this particular moment at the very end of the film that seems like it was patchwork by Disney and Lucasfilm, obviously, in reaction to how fans were, reacting to some of the leaks and the spoilers out there. Now, in case you guys did not know, November was a big month because a lot of work was done by swapping out scenes and putting new ones in order to explain certain characters, acts in the movie, what they do in the film and exactly how they die and come back to life, etc., etc. Now, the one thing that I think a lot of fans will obviously feel a little divided about is whether or not this should be a thing. The whole Reylo moment between both Ben Solo and Kylo, or should I say Ben Solo and Rey. Now, the thing about that particular moment is that there are Star Wars fans who like the idea of Reylo, and there's also Star Wars fans who dislike the idea. So it's gonna have a mixed reactions without a doubt, where you have both Rey and Ben Solo kissing before Ben Solo delivers all of his life force over to Rey, allowing her to live on forever. Now, at this point in time, when she defeats Sidious, it's actually said to temporarily kill her, but she is still labeled as the Chosen One, and this is where Ben Solo crawls out of the pit. So this honestly makes a lot more sense. sense, because this also sounds like that what was done in November, where they were actually swapping out scenes and putting new ones in and trying to explain a little bit more as to what was going on. So episode 9 is said to all end where Ben Solo dies by giving his life force over to Rey, to a dead Rey, I must be specific, and that also leads to a moment in which there's a moment in which they kiss. It shares a Reylo moment in the actual movie. So the fact that it delivers a moment like that, but there's no Ben Solo Force Ghost, it may be a moment in the movie that will really kind of upset a lot of fans, the fact that he won't get the Anakin Skywalker treatment, and that we won't see Ben Solo's Force Ghost at the very end of the film. That's going to be a very, I guess you could say, upsetting moment for fans, a moment that's going to let down a lot of Star Wars fans, I think, personally. I would really like to hear what you guys have to say, about this particular moment where Ben does in fact crawl out of the pit, believe it or not, and crawls over to Rey and gives his life force over to a dead Rey and allows her to wake up and reunite with Ben Solo and kiss him before he dies. So the biggest thing here is what happens with his body. Does she leave Ben Solo behind? Does she drag Ben Solo like Luke Skywalker did with Darth Vader? That's a big mystery open on the table right now. So with The Rise of Skywalker now just 10 days away, and we do know that the premiere is actually going on tonight or today over in Japan, where they're actually going to be able to show the critics the actual movie, and the critics are going to be able to express their reactions to the film. And we have another premiere on the 16th over in Los Angeles. So this also ties directly into how new Force powers will be a thing in The Rise of Skywalker. So new Force powers will be a thing in episode 9. In case you guys did not know, J.J. Abrams confirmed this, that there are going to be a number of new Force powers in this movie that are going to be pretty much something that has never been explored before in Star Wars canon or in the expanded universe. So that's JJ's way of being very ambitious and kind of trying to do something very new to the franchise. Now, I've expressed my concern based on the changes and adjustments that Disney have made to The Rise of Skywalker, such as, cutting out Anakin Skywalker and diminishing Luke Skywalker scenes only down to 10 minutes in this movie, which I think is a big mistake. But this particular moment, the story unfolds even more so, where Ben Solo, as it turns out, crawls out of the pit and saves a dead Rey, allowing his life force to transfer over to hers. Now, what's going to be explained in the novelization in March of 2020 is that as he falls into the pit, the Force Ghosts are able to communicate with Ben Solo and allow him to learn this new power quickly that allows him to save Rey. And that is the Jedi thing to do in Ben Solo's eyes. So basically, Ben Solo saves Rey, he dies. That's essentially how it works. And I think that there's going to be a divided, fan base over that, like a real divided reaction, if you will, of how fans are going to react to this particular segment at the very end of The Rise of Skywalker. And when we look at episode 9, in greater depth here, it really is all about redemption. All the cast and crew talked about this. They said that this movie is about redemption, and obviously this falls directly in line with the redemption story of Ben Solo doing what needs to be done in order to save Rey. And I guess he does this because he feels that he has done so wrong to the galaxy and so wrong to his own father, Han Solo, that it only feels right for him to give his own life to Rey. So the last thing I just want to say about this is that this could also very well fall directly in line with the kiss scene that we talked about, that Disney and Lucasfilm were contemplating on deleting from the entire movie, and it seems like it's a part of the finalized version of The Rise of Skywalker, when they were doing a lot of patchwork in November of this year, where they actually had, George Lucas on board and J.J. Abrams trying to fix elements of The Rise of Skywalker. So we'll have to wait and see exactly how everything will be executed on the big screen and how the fans are really going to accept this movie, accept this particular moment, and how it's really going to resonate with the fans around the world. So anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you also very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
Gun in hand, we are alone again. No hiding. nights in the